cheers to episode 154.
Cheers.
Cheers. Crisp.
Pear Heineken. I've never had it before.
Ooh, how is it?
Pear.
It's pretty good.
Body armor, blueberry pomegranate. It was already open, so I didn't crack it. Sorry.
Experimental Voodoo Ranger. Living on the dark side.
With just an X.
Yeah.
Is that stronger?
That's not.
No, I think it's just a different flavor. I think they've just got experimental with it. I don't think it's stronger.
Okay, got it.
Connor strikes me as a type that would drink like CBD infused IPAs.
I mean, if one's offered to me, I can't turn it down. That sounds like a good beverage. Calm the nerves.
All right, let's set the stage here. People that are just listening are probably like, what are those voices? You've heard them before. They've been on shows in the past, but I think this is the first time in the 154 episode history where we've had two fill-in guests. Definitely had one, and we've had some where we've had like a bunch of people on with Alex and Evan. But Evan is out coaching the Youth of America all week, all road games too. Just a brutal schedule, whoever put that together for them. I'd have to go look at the text, but it was like today through Friday, essentially. They have away games every single day. Doug McDaniel would not survive. Let's just say that. No.
Michigan would be 0-4.
0-4, yeah. Alex could only really do later in the week, but by the time we got to later in the week, there's just so much time has passed since the Super Bowl, you can't really do it. So he's grinding, working right now. So credit to him. Hope his meetings go great. We'll talk about him a little bit too here when we get into the Chiefs. But with all that being said, welcome in. We have Cody. I'll let you introduce yourself first.
Cody Wilkins, ultimate ball knower, Michigan State alumni, closet Wolverine fan, whoever's winning. Been on the show before. Excited to talk ball, and big fan of Colorado as well. One of my best friends. So I'll let him introduce himself now.
Thank you, Cody. Well, this is the voice of Connor. You've heard me at least 4 or 5 times, I think, because I know in September you heard my rant about the Packers. So
yes.
I'm not gonna go on too long about the green and gold today, but I'm excited to talk about the green and white MSU Hoops.
You got the defensive coordinator fired with that rant.
Should have been a couple of years ago, but yeah, I mean, Joe Barry, the epitome of
he wanted his head coach
I'm
fired.
excited.
People forget that.
I wanted who?
You wanted your head coach fired after the Lions beat the Packers in Lambeau. People forget that.
Oh yeah, there's many times I've called for the player's head, but he adjusted pretty well the second half, so he's not on that PetSmart leash anymore.
Oh man.
All right. So tonight is Monday, February 12th. You know who the guests are now. It's February 12th, 2024, 6:52 p.m. Eastern. No need to do Central Time. Alex isn't on the show. And the Chiefs have done it again. We have a dynasty brewing in the NFL. We're going to touch on what we saw last night and then other topics for the show. MSU Hoops that Connor teased, top 10 win. Have some thoughts about how maybe that's changed our opinion. Cody, glad you're on this one. You have a unique perspective throughout the year with your boycott, the B word. We'll see how that's taking place here and your plans for March. Michigan football, still figuring out their coaching staff. We have some betrayal. We have some promises that weren't kept early in the week. We'll get into that. We have the Pistons trade deadline. A good one for Evan to miss because he hates this franchise. So maybe we get a couple thoughts about maybe positives. I don't know. It's hard to get excited about. And then, assuming we have time, which I think we will, Red Wings, the upcoming stretch. I looked at the standings today. Credit to me. So I knew where everyone was at. I looked at the upcoming schedule. We'll see what the future holds, but we'll talk a little bit about that. Evan will be sad that he's missing that if we do get to Red Wings. Because behind the scenes, I've put Red Wings on the show doc probably like the last month and a half and just never have time. Just no reason to talk about them once we're an hour and a half deep of football talk. So
we're in a good spot though right now. I think they're worth mentioning though.
Yeah, they're in the playoffs as of when I looked this morning. So that's something.
Still are, huh?
Without further ado, Cody, kick us off with any weekly check-ins. If you have anything, that's okay. If not, totally okay as well.
Yeah, pretty good, pretty clean week, I'll be honest, slinging insurance. But yeah, other than that, had a Super Bowl party yesterday, hosted a couple friends. Had Cody and Evan over, made quite the spread, put together, would have invited you, Grant, but it's just a long drive for a Super Bowl that nobody cares about. So
Connor and I were talking about the logistics of parties where, like, if you don't live in the same town, they're kind of tough to do because it's Sunday night.
Yeah, so that's just where if you're in Tecumseh, you got invited. If not, it didn't make sense. Made wings, buffalo chicken dip, guac, like little pepperoni rolls, brownies. Yeah, put together a hell of a spread.
Pigs in a blanket?
And pigs in a blanket as well. Sorry. That would have been a big
guess.
I made – Evan showed up, and I had already pulled out probably like 50 pigs in a blanket and put them on a plate. And he watched me open the oven to pull more out. And he goes, wow, there's more of these? And I said, I was like, well, yeah, Evan. One Eldred came over, so that's probably all that kid's going to eat. So had to make a lot of them. And that's like the ultimate party snack because they're so poppable that I was like, they will get eaten, I promise. And they were gone by the end of the night. So I felt good about that decision. Yeah. Pretty boring Super Bowl, in my opinion. I guess we'll get to that. But other than that, nothing too exciting on my end.
Any good moments from the party? Any, like, reactions? What was the biggest pop in the crowd?
Honestly, I think the Joe Biden tweet at the end of the night when he tweeted the laser eyes meme, everybody I pulled it up and I was like, there's no way a president just tweeted this. And everybody's immediate reaction was like, well, it has to be fake. Like, it's a fake account. And I pulled it up and he has like 48 million followers. I was like, this is the real account. And we all we were all just flabbergasted. I'd also say Usher just ripping his shirt off felt like another bad week. Another bad moment for guys this week between the Drake video and that. It feels like we can't catch a break. So that felt unnecessary, but it was a good Super Bowl halftime performance. I think Lil Jon got the ultimate pop and Ludacris because we were all rallying for Ludacris in the halftime performance.
Luda was sweet. That was sweet.
I know.
Connor?
I had a pretty relaxed past week. I went and saw the movie The Beekeeper. Have you heard of that? Starring Jason Statham. If you like action, you'll like it. It's a typical Jason Statham action movie, but not too much of the plot. Got pretty into the Wheel of Fortune Super Bowl week last week. Pretty exciting there. Bills fan took the champ. Saturday.
What is that?
What?
What is the
they have like NFL fans on or something?
Yeah, and the winner got tickets to the
actual show, like on CBS.
Oh yeah, big Wheel of Fortune guy.
Okay.
Saturday, Michigan State game started at 2. Got there at 11. Was able to get second row, pretty good spots, but I'll touch on more of the game later.
Behind the
yesterday,
bench?
Yes, behind the bench. You would have seen me in my black pullover, but I don't think I was shown really on TV this time.
I saw you, actually. I did.
No, was that no close up of me calling a timeout though?
No, it wasn't that. It was after Terrence Shannon hit a shot and he was like backpedaling. They're like cutting to commercial and it was like a slow mo of you and Jay and you just looked distraught for a second. But the terrible thing is, I was watching on my phone because I had Butler on the big TV and I want a screenshot to send it, but YouTube TV they don't you can't screen record or take screenshots because they don't want you putting out their content from the game. So I wouldn't be like, oh, I saw
screenshot.
No. Yeah, I screenshotted you, and then it was just a black image on my phone. And I was like, this is bullshit. I just want to send it in the chat. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
That sucks. But after the game, my parents came up and met them at the Riv for a couple hours, then got dinner at B-Dubs after. And for the Super Bowl, really didn't have any party, just had our house. Someone brought buffalo chicken dip. But yeah, nothing too big for the Super Bowl.
Do you think there's any parties that don't have buffalo chicken dip for the Super Bowl?
At least some type of dip. I'd be surprised if there's ever a party that doesn't have some tortilla chip and some dip made. Or salsa.
I'll be honest. I'm kind of glad football season's over because I was eating buffalo chicken dip last night, and I feel like that's the football season staple. And I was like, I think I'm buffalo chicken dipped out. Like I can't do this anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just a me thing.
Internally, I'm ready for. Speaking of alcohol, like I'm past the point of whiskey. Like I'm already eyeing up what I'm going to be drinking in the summer. I'm kind of past I'm not past a certain beer, but I'm ready for Corona, and I'm just mentally there. So to that point of just like foods and drinks that are winter, but we still have a ways to go, which sucks.
I think the weather's doing that. A lot of sunshine, so I'm just looking forward to it.
Friday though was a perfect day. Just sat outside, played some cornhole. Spring is back.
You guys were living.
At work from my desk, it was great to see the sun outside, if that counts for anything.
It was dark outside by the time you left.
Same thing, really. Just beard eye with the boys, grinding away on a computer, looking out the window. Don't get old, Connor. Never.
I'm almost there.
My week, I don't have a lot, so I don't want to waste too much time. I watched a lot of college basketball on Saturday. A lot. Bet on a lot of college basketball. Watched a lot of college basketball. I went to Shake Shack. And it was really good. They had a new coffee and donuts shake.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How was that?
Coffee flavor with like little crumbs of donuts. It was pretty good. It was a little weird to eat around dinner time with like a burger and chicken sandwich. If I'm being honest, I ate a lot because I hadn't ate much earlier in the day. So I got a burger, chicken sandwich, fries, and the shake. And
that probably set you back $35 at Shake Shack.
Yeah. I think like it's mentally too, because I'm picking it up. So I never know what to do when you tip people when you're picking things up. It's a weird math in my brain. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, I'm not doing a full 20. I'll custom tip it. And I was like, ooh, do I do like $3? So mentally it's like $29.50. So I feel like I'm getting a bargain, because then mentally seeing $31 makes you feel like you're spending more, even though it's only a $2 difference. So I think I tipped. I think it was like $31.
How's a Shake Shack burger compare? Like, have you ever had In-N-Out?
Yeah, one time.
How do you compare the two? Because I guess they're supposed to be big rivals.
I don't know. I feel like they're similar. In terms of quality, they're different, but they're like quality wise. I was satisfied both times.
I feel like Shake Shack's burger is better, but it's more expensive. But In-N-Out's fries are just abysmal. So Shake Shack wins on that. Like if you're just going to get a burger, I'd probably go in. Yeah. Because even for California, like I think an In-N-Out burger is like $5-6, which is really cheap. But Shake Shack's like $9-10.
I forgot to include also Burger King. I had my Burger King on Sunday. Me, Jason, and Jay split the family bundle, so the coupons came in and we went out. Such a beautiful meal.
No rodeo Whopper.
No, I'm not a big rodeo. It's usually I roll with the Bacon King, but I mean, you have the family
Bacon
bundle. King. Nice Whopper.
You're speaking a different language right now. You're speaking a different language.
My Burger King fans out there will understand what the.
I think we were up there. We went up there and tailgated for like the Richmond game, and we went inside the hot. I think some of us just didn't even end up going to the game because it was an FCS school, and we just sat in Bailey's house and watched the game on TV. And Connor just went on like a 20-minute tangent about Burger King. So that's where this all stems from.
Hey, if there are any BK fans out there, they are rejoicing, Connor, because normally they just get like Taco Bell talk, which made me think could have been its own segment. Taco Bell had a summit like Apple. Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw. I saw like pictures from it.
I saw it. Yeah,
full on presentation. I kind of wanted to go watch the full thing, but I'm not gonna do that. But the highlights, the gelato that's kind of making the headlines, but sneaky under the radar was the Cheez-It Crunchwrap Supreme. No, yeah, Crunchwrap Supreme.
Cheez-It.
Yeah, so like that middle crunchy layer is a Cheez-It. That could be something.
They had
that could be terrible. It could be terrible.
It could be really.
It's white cheddar.
It depends on if it gets like soggy or not.
No, white cheddar is terrible, Connor. Take that.
Whoa, back. White cheddar Cheez-Its are a supreme snack. Are you kidding me?
White cheddar is for children.
Goodness. I'll be a kid then, because I just love a big old handful of white cheddar Cheez-Its in my belly. I mean, these things are great.
I feel like under the radar. I don't know if you're a cinnamon twist guy, but they had like Baja Blast Dust cinnamon twists in that too. Those I don't know. Those could be something.
Not a big cinnamon twist Taco Bell person.
There was
It's not for everybody.
the bites. I can't say the name though. You know, like Dolce or whatever. DUL
Dolce.
but it's like I don't know. I tried saying it, and Marissa corrected me, and I felt like I didn't know how to speak English with the way she said it. I was like, oh, that's not even close to how I thought you pronounced that. Oh, I think it's Dulce de Leche. Dulce de Leche.
Dulce de Leche. It's Spanish.
Okay, yeah. There it is. So you just did the same thing. I just feel like an idiot because I don't know how to say it. But they're making those of the bites, the little the cream-filled bites that they have that are good. Cinnabon delights, yes.
Ooh.
Can you say that one more time? Dulce de Leche?
Dulce de Leche, yeah. Leche is milk. I forget what Dulce means.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let's get into the big game. Let's start with the football, then we can talk about the fun stuff of commercials or halftime performance. So, first of all, congratulations to the Chiefs. 3 titles in 5 years now. So that's, I don't know how you guys rank dynasties.
Official dynasty.
That's what I view as dynasties. I don't go like the 10-year mark. Like it's just if you can win 3 and 5. It also varies. Like I think the Warriors won like 4 and 7. That counts as well. It's just like it's a sliding scale of like you know it when you see it. If they're just dominating the sport. And then congrats to Alex. He's not here to defend himself, so we can kind of spread some lies about him. He's a longtime Chiefs fan. Some people have wondered if that's his top team over the Lions and if he likes Mahomes more than Goff. And I would not be surprised if he wore his Chiefs jersey to work today.
Is it Mahomes jersey?
Oh, yeah. It's a Mahomes jersey, Connor. He does not have a Goff jersey. He sold that for money at Chiefs Stadium.
I respect it. He likes his Pat.
Does he? Does he ever? Personal, and then some more backstory before the actual X's and O's. Cody has a long time been a hater of the Chiefs, along with a friend of the show, Wyatt. Alex is obviously a fan. Evan's kind of neutral, like you heard last week. He just loves CMC. I'm just whatever money I can make, so I went with Chiefs. But then I was really surprised. I was driving, going to get groceries, Cody, when you texted the group saying you are on Chiefs with the hammer emoji. I almost spit out whatever drink I wasn't drinking at the time. I was like, no way that Cody is like making himself root for the Chiefs tonight. So how did that play out in your head? Because you do not like the Chiefs.
It felt good. That was the ultimate emotional hedge for me because it's not like betting against, like if Michigan State's playing somebody and I bet on the other team, that feels like a cheap emotional hedge because if Michigan State, even if I win my bet, I'm going to still be mad. But it was just nice to be able to watch the football game and know, regardless, even if the Chiefs win, I can't be that upset. I won a bet. And I got Patrick Mahomes at plus money in a Super Bowl. So, I don't know. At the end of the game, I actually wasn't even really that upset because you kind of just got to appreciate what he did. I mean, I think he went 8 for 8 on the last drive, which is pretty remarkable to not throw an incompletion, especially with that moment. And that play action or that read option that they ran was just unbelievable. So you got to give it up to the guy. Like he's definitely going to be the guy for many years to come. I think Warren Sharp tweeted out I think he's 3 losses of like 1 score or something. You might want to check that. Sorry. But
no, I think I saw a similar thing. Yeah.
Every time he loses, like they're still in the game. So it's just crazy that he keeps doing this and he's still so young. I think the only time that it really hit me that I was upset was when Kelsey went up there on the stage after and was screaming like "Viva Las Vegas" and then you got to fight. And I was like, all right, I'm turning the TV off. Like I just can't do this. I'm going to go to bed mad. So, yeah, I wasn't that upset. It was a pretty good football game. A lot of people were saying all-time classic. I don't know about that, just because it was good football, but there was just no plays that really stood out to me that were that awesome aside from the Juwan Jennings CMC touchdown. But better than I thought it'd be. I went to bed. I fell right asleep after. Normally, I'm pretty steaming after something like that, like a Michigan State loss, or so. It was what it was.
Yeah.
I thought there was
thoughts?
I kind of disagree with you. I thought there was some big key moments. Not that in the second half, but the first half, especially with the turnovers, both sides on the muff punt and the blocked kick. For a while, I was thinking, yeah, this is pretty underwhelming, but you get any Super Bowl or any playoff game that goes to one score game at the end of the fourth or overtime, it's worth it. But my main takeaway is I'm just going to keep betting on Patrick Mahomes. It's proved me right. He's the next Tom Brady. There's only one quarterback in the AFC who I think could even top him in any playoff game, and that's Burrow. I think Josh Allen will never get the job done. Lamar won't get the job done. So right now, I just think it's a one-horse race in the AFC. Turning the page to San Francisco, I mean, I always considered Green Bay a big choke artist, but San Francisco's right on that heel along with Dallas because Shanahan just can't figure it out. He can't figure it out in the Super Bowl in these large-scale games. And for your team to elect to receive in the overtime of a playoff game with the new rule has to be one of the worst coaching jobs that's ever existed because that's just painfully pathetic. Because if you can somehow...
Sorry, that was alarming that Juice Check, like a Harvard grad, came on in the press conference. It was like, yeah, we didn't know the overtime rules. You would think a team with that many veterans on it, that's that well coached, would know the new overtime rules, and that's just the biggest miss I think of all time on the biggest stage.
It was Juszczyk that said it. I never saw who said it. That's tough.
Yeah,
Juszczyk in the post game said it, but was Fred Warner the one who elected to receive at the coin toss? I think it was Fred Warner.
Yeah.
But that was the captain.
Because after the game, the Chiefs said, too, that they were, had multiple practice sessions, practicing how to react in the playoffs. So San Francisco just being ill-prepared late. I mean, they always have these leads that they blow. I don't think it's really, looking at the quarterback situation, Purdy gets a lot of shit. But I think Purdy's good enough to win a Super Bowl, especially in the system. But, I mean, no one really on San Francisco made the play late in the game. So, I mean, credit to Chiefs. Every year I'm going to pick them to win the AFC, unless it's going to be Burrow. But the dynasty's on the clock. The Chiefs are just too good.
Connor, do you think we should – I was thinking about this today. Like, when's the best window? When people look at flights, they say book X months out to get the best deal. When's our off-season window to bet Chiefs where we might get the best value? Because I think they're like plus 750 to win the title right now. And I'm just like, do I take that now or do I wait?
If we're doing
up to 900, I don't know.
Off-season wise, I'd say right now, just because they don't even have the best odds. But I think if you're looking at the entire season, if you're confident in them winning it all, I mean, usually around week 7 or 8 is when everyone starts doubting them when they might get to plus 1,000.
You're right. You're right.
But
I was going to say either now or after free agency. I feel like free agency could really swing it. And, let's say they lose Chris Jones or they lose L'Jarius Sneed, which are two things that could probably happen. I think you could probably get a pretty good number after that.
Especially, I want to see their schedule, too, because, I mean, they're going to have a tough schedule next year having to play – Houston, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Burrow's back. That could be even the first game of the year, which would be awesome to see him come back. But next year,
you're forgetting Connor.
Chargers
wild card in this dynasty, and it's Jim Harbaugh. His one life mission is going to be to take down this team. And if he was ever to be able to do it, he would go down as maybe the best coach of all time.
Absolutely.
That was one of my points that I left the game thinking, I think I'm officially the biggest Jim Harbaugh fan now that he's on the Chargers, because that is how you can take down Patrick Mahomes from within the division, because it's been the most dysfunctional division since Mahomes has been there, even before with Alex Smith. And I don't know. We got to put all our chips in there because we got to stop him. Because I don't know. If the Lions make the Super Bowl next year, I really don't want to see Patrick Mahomes on the other side.
There might be a dry fit, long sleeve, powder blue Chargers shirt in my future, because that would be funny to go at Alex when he wears his Mahomes stuff, just become a big Charger, a bolt head. I don't know what they call them themselves, but just get in there.
The thing with the Chargers is they're kind of gaining some age, especially in their weapons. And Eckler is he a free agent, so I have no idea really what to expect from the Chargers next year. But obviously, Herbert for me, I made my QB rankings before this. I have Herbert at 6 right now. So if anyone can do it, it could be him, especially with Jimmy. And Minter went with him, right?
Oh, yeah.
Is there an OC in LA?
Greg Roman's back on the staff, but I don't know if he's the OC.
Yeah, he is the OC.
I'm pretty sure
he?
Jack Harbaugh is in need of a job, so maybe we'll see him follow him to LA. I'd love to see Jack Harbaugh back.
The dad?
Yeah, Jack Harbaugh. Great offensive
No
line.
shot.
That's
no
Connor's
shot.
bit. That's
He was-
Connor's bit.
He was a defense. I mean, he was a D2 champ. He was great coaching.
He's a great coach,
D2 football,
but
so
he's just he's like the mascot of the Harbaugh family. That's his role now.
he could be, yeah. But I think he just needs one more shot.
Back to the game. There's two things you guys were talking about. I'll give my stance on it. If you had taken the odds that Grant would draw a parallel to Michigan football from the Super Bowl, catch the bet. I'm glad Alex isn't here because he keeps getting pissed that I correlate everything back to Michigan football, which I'm guilty of doing so. But watching this game from my living room on TV, I kept thinking to myself, I think this is how outside fans, not of the two teams, viewed the Rose Bowl between Michigan and Alabama, where it ended up being thrilling action, but it was a grind to get there, and it was really sloppy. Like, I almost put the shoes of, like, Michigan was the Niners and Alabama was the Chiefs, and the only difference in the outcomes of the game was that Mahomes is so much better than Jalen Milroe in his respective sport. Where, like, parallels, Niners dominated the trenches. Michigan dominated the trenches in the first half. You felt like the Niners should have been up more at half. Michigan should have been up more at half. Niners muffed a punt. Michigan muffed multiple punts. Like it was like the same. I was like watching the script of how it went, and then it just turned out that Mahomes was just better when it came. Oh, and the Moody missed blocked a kick. Michigan missed a kick. Like, it was special teams blunders left and right. Like, where I was like, oh, Michigan's Niners, Chiefs are Alabama. Mahomes just won the game at the end, as opposed to Milroe getting stuffed in overtime.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially early on in that game, it looked like Kansas City would just be a duck that gets shot in the pond, because I mean, San Francisco was just so aggressive, and Kansas City couldn't move the ball, couldn't run the ball. Pacheco was pissing his pants the whole game with those fumbles, even the fumble that they recovered still. But I mean, Patrick can just overwhelm anybody, even with his cast, especially with Kelsey big in the second half, finally showing up.
When Mahomes threw the pick out of half, that's when I was like, oh, I think my bets are going to lose. I thought that was the play. Again, prove us wrong. Like, credit to him for coming back. But then again, coming back, they were gifted their touchdown that was off a guy's heel, tried to pick up by Ray McLeod. So it really, like, I'd be sick if I was a Niners fan and just completely tell myself, if we don't muff that punt, we win the game. Because I'm looking at the play drives now, and it was like interception, punt, punt, punt. There were so many punts in this game, which from a betting side also pissed me off, because I was on the Hank Lockwood special of any punt to be a touchback, and we just kept getting robbed. And there was a million punts and just couldn't get that over the line.
That Chris Conley down at the one definitely hurt you.
Down at the one. And then the one before that, where the guy fielded it on the 5. Like, whatever happened to heels on the 10, don't move backwards. We're just fielding punts on the 5. Anyways, yeah. So credit to the Chiefs for figuring out and getting some lucky breaks.
Didn't it fit? Yeah, doesn't it feel like Mahomes has made a deal with the devil sometimes when you look at the last 2 Super Bowls and the way momentum shifted? Like, Jalen Hurts, that mind-boggling play where he had the ball and started to scramble and just dropped it, and it ended up being, I forget who returned it, I think one of the linebackers. And then this year, the muff punt, and momentum just flipped both times. And I feel like on both of those plays, that's when I felt really good about my Chiefs bet, is when they muffed that punt. You just knew the next play was going to be a touchdown, and it was. And from that point, it just seemed like the 49ers couldn't get any momentum.
Yeah. Football's stupid. Like, thinking about the playoffs and all the margins. I heard someone say it was like the only game, I'm sure I'm missing one, but the main game you could think of this postseason that wasn't decided by like 1 or 2 crazy plays was the Packers just blitzing Dallas. Like, every other game, you could argue at times, like, play goes this way, Zay Flowers doesn't fumble reaching for the goal line, maybe they win. That's just so stupid how football is. And that happened to the Niners in this game.
I'm just glad it didn't come down to like a flag or anything, honestly, because that discourse ran all off season. I mean, primarily me, just because I was a Chiefs hater against the Eagles, I'll be honest. But it was just nice to see nothing really came from the refs, and it was kind of just decided on the field, and the Chiefs won it. So,
looking at that Mecole Hardman first catch, that deep ball.
Oh,
I don't know if my heart's ever sank deeper
Connor.
because I thought I had it. And when I saw, oh my God, just the deep ball to Mecole Hardman just reminds me of Tyreek Hill or even MVS in Green Bay. You just think it's a touchdown, but you got tracked down. Of course, it was the last touchdown. That was the correct bet, not first.
and then instantly, I'm just a idiot trying to do football brain. Oh, maybe they'll throw to him again. Maybe they'll throw to Noah Gray now. They're not throwing to those guys after the play, Grant. Like, that was the moment. And they fumbled with Pacheco. I'm like, this is stupid.
Especially just CMC being the first touchdown. Like, how many people actually are going to – what was his first touchdown? It was probably plus 500.
I think
like
it was like
CMC?
plus 325, I think.
It's like, that's not fun. We're all betting either the Jawan Jennings, the Clyde Edwards-Hilairs, or the Mecole Hardmans of the world.
Vegas made so much money on that.
I did not bet Clyde Edwards-Helaire on anything. I didn't even realize he still played in the NFL.
I had him as last touchdown. I was very sad to see him not even get on the field in the game, really.
I had Ayuk last touchdown, and when he streaked across on that 3rd and 4 or whatever, he was wide open in the back of the end zone, but Chris Jones just got home. I mean, my heart just sank. That was a chance, and we lost. It was plus 1,000 I had it at, so it is what it is.
I mean,
first punt to be a fair catch was electric. I love that. That was fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I bet the opening kickoff to be anything but a fair catch or touchback, which is probably I don't know if they've ever even brought it out since the Devin Hester return, but I was really hoping that was the one. But go ahead. Heads beating out the tails was pretty electric too.
Yeah, that was great.
I'm curious, Grant, how my biggest takeaway, honestly, all I thought about today is I feel a lot better about the Lions, at least. I know a lot of people ran with the discourse last night, and Antonio Brown tweeted, like, the Lions will be up 35-10. I don't really like to play that game because you don't know how the game would play out if the Lions were in that position. But yeah, I at least feel better knowing I feel confident that Dan Campbell is probably the best head coach in the NFC. After watching Shanahan blow another double-digit lead in the Super Bowl and just what came out of the overtime, and it just seems like whenever they can't run the ball or something in a system doesn't work, play calling gets really sketchy. I mean, Kittle had like 2 catches for 4 yards last night. That was shocking. And it's just, at least knowing that the Lions didn't go out and make a huge move at the deadline like a Chase Young. They don't make a ton of moves in free agency, like big swings. And that's kind of what the Chiefs have done. They've really built through the draft, and they know when to move on from a guy, when not to. And the Chiefs follow the Patriots playbook a lot in that aspect. So it's nice to see that Brad Holmes is doing a lot of the same things the Chiefs are. So I guess I'm curious, like, how if you thought about that at all. But that's where I felt, just because it sucked that the Lions weren't in it. So you can only talk about the Chiefs so much.
I think a couple things that I thought, like, live during the game, I was having fun tweeting, like, all Lions would dust these teams, like, jokingly just for the reactions. But I think it made me appreciate our offensive line a little bit more. Mahomes was running for his life, and we definitely blocked their front better than the Chiefs did. And a lot of people hold the Chiefs' offensive line in the same tier as the Lions. And I think after seeing the 2 games, I'd put the Lions like a little bit of above tier because Jared didn't have to scramble like that. 2, and a stupid point, but I felt better about Jahmyr Gibbs' fumble watching CMC do it and Pacheco do it. So I felt like you're not going to like hold it over his head, but I was like, all right, like, reminder, like, CMC fumbles in the Super Bowl too. But I don't know. I feel like we had our share of fluke plays, which those teams did as well. But I feel like overall, like, our discipline was better. Like, there was it's so hard to say, like, talk about discipline with the Lions when they did have some blunders in the most recent half we watched them play. But I feel like that was an outlier. I feel like over the course of a year, they're just more disciplined, like, less false starts. They handle the ball better, that they protect the ball. Again, most times, not the most recent half we watched them play. So I did feel better. It was nice, too, going to the coaching point as well related to the Lions, is that the Niners were 4th and 3 on the 15 down a field goal, and they chose to go for it. And that was even like riskier, I would say, than the Lions one, because the Lions was going to be like a 50-yard field goal. The Niners would have had like a chip shot, like 30 yards. And so that kind of hopefully put some people to rest about Dan's just a psychopath, like hitting on a 19 in blackjack, like Kyle Shanahan. Again, he blew a lead, but like made the same decision to go for it. Yeah, and it worked. So everyone's like, oh, nice call, because it worked. Like, people just play the results. So yeah, I felt better. Like, I feel like we're not going anywhere. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be teams like Connor's team that rise that you don't expect to have to deal with. The Vikings, with Kirko, if he's back, like, they're never going to be a slouch. There's going to be contenders that are playing out for it, but I mean, we play any team in the NFC at home, I feel good about us winning the football game.
Yeah, and it was just nice to watch it. It was nice to watch the Super Bowl and think, like, I could actually see the Lions here and, like, competing in this game when, like, 3 years ago, if you imagine the Lions on that stage versus the Chiefs, it'd be like a 42-7 blowout. But it's nice to at least have the confidence going into next year, and obviously the schedule is what it is. But to at least know, I think we have the two, and I know we've known this, but I guess I left that game feeling better about Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell as the guys to lead us for the next 5-10 years. I guess we'll see how it plays out. But
yeah, we just got to clean up our defense, which we all know. Like, I think our offense is a Super Bowl caliber unit, and I think our defense has a little bit of work to get there.
Yeah.
Who's the Lions' key, like, off season? Are they going to be there or not? Free agents?
Probably Graham Glasgow, if we're being totally honest. It's just the right guard.
Is Anzalone going to be on?
No, we extended. We signed him a couple, maybe last year. I think we gave him a bigger contract, like a 3-year deal.
Jonah Jackson, I think.
Yeah, the two guards. Really, it's just, are we going to start? We have to start extending our big boys. Is where the money's going to go, because they're all eligible. Like,
and Taylor Deckers,
Panay and Amon-Ra are both eligible for extensions.
And Taylor Decker's going in. This will be his last year of his contract next year. Which obviously Evan will want him gone. So I guess we'll see.
From a Packers fan's perspective, like, looking at the Lions' future, what they are now, I mean, it's pretty exciting because, it's pretty much been Packer dominated. Obviously Minnesota comes in, wins the division a few times, Chicago, but there wasn't really a true rivalry splitting every year. But I mean, I'm looking at the Lions right now, and I think this could be a great rivalry for the next 10 years, especially depending on what you do with Goff, if you re-sign him or Hooker or get the right next quarterback, because I feel very confident with Love that, we can keep it competitive with Detroit. So I just think year in, year out, it's going to be a tough dog race. I can see, both these teams making the playoffs every single year. Looking at Minnesota, obviously with Kirk, if Kirk gets that bag, they're pretty frightening. Chicago, I'm never going to believe until I see it happen. Even if they get Caleb Williams, I'm still going to say, yeah, he's going to be a bust. More than likely, if he's in Chicago, he's not going to be a good quarterback. He probably will be, though. But I think it's just a two-head race. I mean, Vikings are, especially on defense, have huge question marks every single year. But if Kirk's there, they're going to be able to put up points every game. So it's going to be an exciting next decade.
I think I feel better about extending Goff too, because I saw this stat last night that I know that a lot of people in the media run with the agenda that you always want to get a quarterback on a rookie deal so you can save money there and spend the rest of it on a team. And most of the times I'd have to agree with that, but 9 of the last 10 Super Bowl champions were teams with a quarterback not on a rookie deal. And I know obviously 3 of those are Mahomes, and that's special. Tom Brady sprinkled in there. But you kind of went into this whole Jared Goff situation thinking, I don't know if I really want to spend $40 million on Jared Goff, but when there's alternatives out there, but it's nice to know, like, there's a lot more that goes into it. And obviously Patrick Mahomes is special, but I think we can afford to pay him that money, and we need to pay him that money, and we obviously will. We're not going to go with Hendon Hooker, another guy next year, especially with this roster, but it's nice to see that it doesn't always need to be a quarterback on a rookie deal to have a super special guy like that.
Connor, I appreciate you getting all excited about this new rivalry, but I hate your guts for that, because this was supposed to be our time when we were like the Patriots that Wilkins rooted for, when we have the crappy Dolphins, the crappy Bills, the Nathan Peterman Bills, the who's the other team? The Jets. That's what this division was supposed to be. And Jordan Love, we just got to deal with him, which is fine.
He's number 3 on my QB rankings. It might be a little biased, but I believe.
Come on.
Yes, he is. There's only 2 quarterbacks I'd rather have on my team, and it's Mahomes and Burrow.
Come on.
I say that straight face. I've been a Love guy since before we drafted him. What I saw last year, I don't think there's any way I could leave him out of a top 5 race, numbers wise, and the way he progressed in the second half. I think the future's bright. Obviously. Yeah. You want to just hear my list?
Yeah.
I have my top 15.
Because you mentioned it, and I wasn't like, all right, like Connor, don't give it to us. But then now you're a great showman. You said I got Love.
I need to hear it.
Yeah, you're like I got Love 3, and I'm like, all right, just tell me the whole thing now.
All right, Mahomes, Burrow are my top 2. Then I have Jordan, Josh Allen, Lamar, Herbert, Stroud, Dak. Okay, my top 7 are pretty definitive.
You got Love over Stroud. Oh my God, this is juicy.
Without a question, yeah.
I like 4 spots.
Without a question. He's got Love over Lamar Jackson, the reigning MVP.
Absolutely. I mean, Lamar may have the MVPs, but if I'm going to have a quarterback who I think can get me to the Super Bowl, I'd rather have Jordan Love.
Wait. All so right. Can I say, is this because I like to know the context because I can change his argument.
You're not going to get much context here because it's pretty mixed.
Are you saying this is like a snapshot into next season, or is this like starting a team because you're banking on Jordan Love's young age?
I'd say actually starting a team either way. I'd want Love. Lamar is the worst MVP, and that was the worst.
No, I'm just saying for the whole, like for the whole list.
For 24 touchdowns.
CJ Stroud's a little spicy though.
I mean,
I'm just saying the whole list.
Their numbers are really similar, and okay. Anyways. Stroud at 7, Dak, Stafford, Hurts, Kurt, Goff, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Kyler.
You say that over Goff?
Start from the after Stroud again.
I have Dak at 8, Stafford 9, Hurts 10, Captain Kirk, Goff, T-Law, Tua, Kyler. But like I said, 8 through 15 are very mix and match fluid. Between I don't know if I'd rather go the best right now or who I'd rather start my team. If it's start my team, Trevor would probably be 8 or 9.
Question about a certain player and what you weight, Mr. Connor, between. So I think I misheard you, but you were talking about like Lamar, Jordan Love. I'm guessing there's some playoff bias coming in there where, one player hasn't been able to get the job done. One burst onto the scene and got a win. Where does that factor in with Dak and Jared Goff? Because that, to me, is a pretty big, like, regular season king versus a guy who is proven to win in the playoffs.
I think just at that point, I would say I'd rather start my team at that. Like I said, 8 through 15, I really don't have a basis for. It's more just looking at a list and thinking names who I'd rather be my quarterback in this point in time. But, I mean, the thing with Goff is, yes, he's great.
Because he's white. You say it. Dak's cool.
That's not.
Dak's got swag.
Dak had a great regular season.
I think it's just how Goff moves in the pocket.
It might be like Stafford, Kirk, and Goff. Just like they look, they're all white and they all throw the ball the same. I mean, they're just.
You see too much of yourself in them. You see too much of yourself in them.
But the top 7 is really just my list there. I think I might even put. I think there's a chance Stroud can move up in there, but I thought I'm pretty definitive on that.
To say Love better than Burrow. Thank God we're still on the rails.
Love's still behind Burrow until he gets to a Super Bowl. I'm not going to put him up there yet. Mahomes will never switch from one, but.
Question, Connor.
Yes.
So this was.
Am I crazy for thinking? Do you guys think he's a top 10 quarterback?
Yeah.
Sure, but like again, okay. So that's why.
I guess it depends on what. Yeah. Sorry,
this is technically his like rookie year. I know he sat.
He threw for 31 and 12 with all first and second year receivers. It's not like he was 25 and 13. I mean, he had throughout the entire season. He threw for the most touchdowns, including postseason.
Yeah, I just want to stay big picture, not to go worst case, but as happens in sports, there's a reason there's a term sophomore slump. Let's say he goes through it a little bit next year. Interceptions go up a little bit. Like that's where it's hard for me to put him so high because I need
I
so
get
much
that.
more information about Jordan Love.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, after next year, if you can do the same thing, then I'll have him definitively there. But I've been a big Love guy since like right when we drafted him. I thought he'd be the guy, so I'm backing him. And I mean, he hasn't proved me wrong yet, and I still believe in him at number 3. And that's just where I feel. I mean, Josh Allen's very scary to me. Josh Allen. I can see you putting Josh Allen over Love, those at 3 and 4. But I'm not. I would rather have Love than Lamar. And I'm not a big Lamar guy. Super Bowl winning wise, you're going to be competitive and fun every year. I would rather have Jordan.
I think I still have the taste of Jordan Love in that first Lions-Packers primetime game, and I don't tune into the Packers every week, I'll be honest. His second half was impressive of the season. But just some of those, what did he throw, 2 or 3 picks in that game at Lambeau?
Yeah, and he's had 20. He went 21-1 the last 10 weeks of the year. So,
yeah, I mean
some of the throws he can make are crazy.
Special. Yeah.
So,
The only thing I'll say that still keeps me skeptical is from the bits I saw of the Dallas
best
game.
MVP odds right now, by the way.
He was a lot of your receivers in the Dallas game were just wide open. Like I could make the throws. So credit to the team.
Yeah. I mean, Love he can manage the pocket really well. I mean, San Francisco obviously looked a little like Rodgers choking at the end of that game, but till the 4th he was good. So obviously we need a lot more time to read it out, but this is just where I would want to start my team off with and where I value them.
I appreciate that for you. I appreciate it for the show because it's going to make a great clip. There's going to be a lot of discourse around Jordan Love, the 3rd best QB in the entire NFL. It's going to be good stuff. But yeah, thanks, Connor, for bringing that.
Of course.
Random fun fact. When we were watching this game, Evan goes, "Where did Fred Warner go to school?" And I don't know why I know this. He went to BYU. And he was like, well, when was he there? Fred Warner played at Spartan Stadium. He was on I think it was 2017 or 2018, the 3-9 year, when we lost to BYU 31-14 at home to Taysom Hill.
Wow.
Really?
Just a crazy fact to think that Fred Warner
It is pretty wild, yeah.
Played ball in East Lansing and then became the best linebacker in the NFL.
He's got one of the best jaw lines, beard looks of all time in sports and society. He looks like a Greek sculpture of a human when his helmet is off. It's like, God.
I mean, he's no Killian Hayes, but he's a hot dude.
You're right, Fred Warner's employed.
I'd rank him above Killian Hayes. Cody, just a little bit about the whole Pats comparison. So I'll give my piece, and then I'm curious how you see it. You were kind of in the weeds of the Patriots dynasty. So I think I understand why people are comparing them, and I do. I can easily close my eyes and see a world where Mahomes surpasses them. And I'm willing to say, if you want to make the argument he's the most talented quarterback we've ever seen, that's fine. In terms of physical gifts and throwing a football, yeah, it's more impressive than watching Brady play. But in terms of GOAT and everything, I feel like we're still getting ahead of ourselves because it's jarring that Brady went 10 years without winning one. And he still has to go at least 4 more, which is daunting. And again, he's young. He's 28, but I'm not ready to just be like, oh, yeah, he's for sure going to get there. I don't know. Sports are crazy. He could suffer a bad injury or maybe his teams fall off. And you look at how close to all the Super Bowls he's been in he's come back in all of them. What if those start flipping the other way and he loses 3 in a row? Then what?
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the game, I really thought to myself, this is exactly how every Patriots Super Bowl played out. They always came out slow. I don't know what it was. They always had to do something in the 3rd quarter, and then the 4th quarter just played out how they did. I think it's still too early. Obviously, media is going to run with it, but this happened early with Brady. Even after he won his 4th, there was still so much Brady versus Montana talk, and I think that didn't even end until he won 6. That he had to get 2 more than Montana to even have an argument in that discussion. It's just so hard era to era because I can safely say Mahomes is the best quarterback of this generation and Brady was the best of his generation. It's tough because, and I appreciate Mahomes saying this, that, we played each other in a Super Bowl and he beat me. So Brady always has that card in his back pocket. But I don't know. It feels like he has to win at least 2 more to be close, to feel like MJ versus LeBron in my head. But for me personally, and I thought about this today, I would like to see him win one without Andy Reid at some point in his career, just because Brady did. Because it would be nice to see how much of Mahomes' career can correlate to Andy Reid. Andy Reid, I think, where does he rank now among head coaches in the GOAT conversation too? It's just obviously every great is going to have great players and great coaches. I just think to see what Brady did that late in his career, I need to see Mahomes do maybe something similar. I'm not saying he has to play until he's 46 because I don't think he will, but it would be nice to see him do it with somebody else at some point.
Well, he'll get a chance too because Reed's not going to be there, I don't think, for another 5 years.
Yeah, I don't know. They said today I saw a story yesterday that they said they expected him, win or lose yesterday, to get an extension. Now, when you say extension, I don't know how long. And who knows how much truth there is to that. But Andy Reid's one of those guys that I think all he enjoys is football. So
cheeseburgers.
I think he'll coach until he legitimately can't. But I guess we'll see. It would just be his play calling is so good in big games that it just I would sometimes there's guys that are so open in these games, in these Super Bowls, that a lot of quarterbacks can make the throws. Obviously, Mahomes is special, but I would just like to see that at some point in his career to definitively say, if he gets 7 and wins one with Andy Reid,
he wins it with Nagy,
he's the GOAT. If he wins it with Matt Nagy, if he wins one more and Matt Nagy's the head coach, he's the GOAT.
A thought I had, Cody, when you're talking about the players, I do know this. When Kelsey retires, inevitably, they need to find him another sick tight end fast because, you think about Gronk was always on Brady's hip for, those last 4 or so, even when he followed him to Tampa. I think having that go-to tight end is going to be huge. Brady had the benefit of, finding his towards the end when Gronk still had years left, but we know Kelsey is not going to outlast Mahomes' career, so he's going to need to find someone fast to be his buddy through those, the back half of his career.
Yeah. It is impressive, too, to see him do it with, similar wide receivers to what Tom was doing it with. Obviously, they both have their tight end, but someone the one of the Super Bowls was, Malcolm Mitchell, who was out of the league after 3 years, Edelman and Amendola, Chris Hogan, who was a lacrosse player. And it feels like the same story with Mahomes this year. Obviously, Rashee Rice was nice towards the end, but Marquez Valdez-Scantling hasn't really had much of a career other than being a deep ball guy. I mean, Sky Moore didn't even take a snap yesterday, which is shocking. All the drama with Kadarius Toney, but I don't know. I think it'll be really fun to see if Chris Jones does leave, what happens to the defense. But it has been cool to see them win 3 different ways, kind of the same way the Patriots were doing it throughout their dynasty.
Yeah. To wrap us out here, when it comes to this big game entertainment side of things, I think I said on a few shows ago that I've leaned into the whole Taylor Swift situation. I think it's entertaining. And I was thinking about this too, if I was going to get in an argument with someone about it. We talk about the argument on the other side would be oh, I'm here for football. It's well, when it comes to the Super Bowl, 35% of the entire TV, honestly more, 55% of the entire TV production is about entertainment. When they have Post Malone sing God Bless America, that's entertainment. That's not about football. You have all the theatrics. So I thought I was entertained by it. Every time they showed her, there was new people standing by her. And I kept being wait, who's that? Who's that celebrity? I thought it was fun. And also, you're going to show Blake Lively. I'm always down for that. Mm-hmm. Big fan of her work since the Gossip Girl days. Just awesome hairstyle too. I think the 80s hairstyle is back. I remember Miley Cyrus at the Grammys, and now Blake Lively doing the big curly blowout hair. That's pretty cool. So I was invested. Ice Spice. I had heard of one of her songs, but I was introduced to Ice Spice too, and I was oh, good for her in the box. I didn't know who Lana Del Rey was. I didn't know what she looked like. I knew who she was. I didn't know who she looked like. And then Marissa was that's Lana Del Rey. I was no way, that's what she looks like. So
she was Taylor was only 57 seconds of total screen time too. I think just during the year, I think it made me more upset than usual. Somebody on TikTok made a good point. A girl brought this up and said if Travis Kelce was dating Sydney Sweeney and they panned to the box the same amount of times, would guys complain as much as they do? And I was like, yeah, it's probably a fair point for most of America. So it's over.
Even if you don't like it, anyone can admit that it's better than seeing Jackson Mahomes, which we used to a couple years ago
absolutely.
in the Chiefs games. Like, this is way better. Way better.
Yeah, I think panning to Jackson and Brittany going crazy in the box made me more mad than Taylor has. So it's somewhat of a win. But Taylor Swift is spoiled. She's a fan for 1 year, and she wins a Super Bowl. So that,
on a walk-off touchdown,
she
too.
She was an Eagles fan. So
that feels like that one. That feels like every kid that was a Michigan and Lions fan this year, and it was their first year actually watching football. Just so spoiled.
Yeah. Halftime show. I thought the roller skating part was cool. I appreciated that. I don't know how you forget or choose not to play DJ Got Us Falling in Love Again, so that's a miss.
That upset me.
Yeah. It upset me too, Connor. I'm glad we shared that.
Really
play that song.
It's the only song I love by them.
Yep. They did
well. Yeah. Alicia Keys missed a note bad when she started singing, but she recovered. That felt a little weird when he kind of hugged her on stage. Felt bad for Swiss Beats. No Bieber, and Bieber was heavily rumored that he was in Vegas. He was at Michael Rubin's party. He was at the game at one point. So that felt like a miss that he didn't bring him out as well. But Lil Jon and Ludacris were good.
Yeah. I also kept thinking, too, how much cooler that show would have been if it was like the Atlanta Super Bowl, like with Luda, ATL, and all that. Like, I think that would have been awesome.
Yeah, we said last night they should have had Ludacris drop out of the sky like he did for that one Falcons game late in the year.
Yeah.
Good show, though. Good halftime show.
Yeah, all around. I mean, I'm not sure there was any other big moments. Shout out to Andy Reid for the viral clip of How About That D, Baby? That's just good stuff from Andy Reid. Just give the internet what they want.
Yeah. I honestly think, too, I think we could safely say Temu. I always pronounce it Temu. I think Temu won the night. I think they paid for 3-4 Super Bowl ads using everybody's credit card numbers, but I think they sold everybody's information. But I don't know how they afforded that, but I don't know.
Great jingle, too. Great song.
Yeah. That was the only commercials that really stuck out, I feel like, besides the Brady and Ben Affleck one for Duncan.
The only ones like I really remembered was the Mayo one with that stupid little cat just meowing and I thought it was saying Mayo. The Popeyes commercial with Ken Jeong at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
And then the Deadpool ad, because I'm very excited for Deadpool versus Wolverine. But those are like the only three that really I am. But only those three were the only ones that really stood out to me. So I think there was a Mountain Dew commercial, but I missed it. I don't know if you guys saw a Mountain Dew commercial.
There's a Baja Blast commercial.
Okay. And then there was a Doritos commercial with the two. They were getting like rolling out the Dorito sticks.
Yeah.
The two older grandmas
like
just chasing it. Yeah.
Oh, really? Those are probably gonna be good.
But outside of that,
the Volkswagen ad was a little weird because it was talking about like the history from the 1940s, and Volkswagen was born through Hitler. So that felt like something you didn't really need to run in a Super Bowl ad. The Kanye ad was pretty funny too. I don't know if you guys saw that one where he said he spent all his money on getting the ad, so he just recorded it on like via FaceTime basically. So it was just a vertical ad of him saying that everything on his store was $20. So
I did not see that.
You can't cancel that, man, I guess. But
Christopher Walken ad I thought was kind of funny. The BMW, I think it was, a car commercial.
And Usher was in it at the end, and we were wondering if he was going to come out in the same outfit, and he did. It was the same outfit he wore in the commercial, like that big white robe thing. Yeah, so that was a cool little callback.
Usher was in two ads then, because I'm pretty sure he was in the Uber Eats one.
Yep.
Cash and checks. A lot of there was also a lot of Dan Marino.
Yeah, there was.
Dan Marino and Lionel Messi in an ad was pretty funny. And there's a last thing about the game. There was a pretty funny tweet that Juwan Jennings has, I think, either the same or one more touchdown in Super Bowls than Dan Marino does. So what a cruel sport football is.
It's tough. But hey, at least, Dan's been to a few.
Yeah.
Anything else on your end, Connor, from Super Bowl 58, I think it was?
I mean, I think that's a pretty wrap. I know it's like we are the farthest in point time away from the season starting, but I'm just excited again. I can't wait for the Packers to be back, football in general. How'd you guys like the score bug, the new CBS score bug?
Hated it.
It was just indifferent. Like it honestly was so bland. I didn't have any emotions about it.
I think they used Arial font on as the letters.
Yeah, I like the I didn't like the scoreboard in general with the bug, but I like the presentation around it, like announcing the players on the stats wise. But I thought it looked like something if you're watching a high school live stream, it kind of looked like that. So I wasn't too fond of it. I'll
just never get over how they don't finish the season with the same one. Like they have to change it for the biggest game of the year.
I love it. I love how every new scoreboard is like. That's one of my favorite things I look to every year. Is just
sicko.
The new score bug introduced in the Super Bowl every single year, and it's just
I forget about it until I see it, and I'm like, oh, I don't like this. Like vibes are already off. This isn't the CBS I'm used to.
They leaked one, and it was a different score bug, so I was kind of hoping because the original leak was supposed to look just like NBC's, but next year we'll get a new Fox one.
Tony.
Yeah,
Romo.
I was to say, how about him ruining an all-time Jim Nantz call at the end?
Ruined it. Soiled it. And good analysis, but like not the time, Tony. Not the time to talk about the play. Talk about it when they replay it. Don't just start talking about the play that Andy Reid saved for 2 months for this moment as we're watching celebration shots.
Yeah. That was
I didn't know
that was tough.
Time,
Me either.
You know what's crazy too is just think about next year in football, the number one Fox crew is expected to be Tom Brady.
Yeah,
that's so probably safe. I think
we're going to be a little spoiled though, because I feel like we have quite a few Fox games, so we might get Greg Olson in a lot of games. I think he's my favorite football commentator nowadays. So that's something to look forward to. But Connor, I know you said there's a long time till football. Combine's in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, and even the draft.
Off season's already here. So
what's the
draft
chance
runs to Detroit?
Either of you two go to the draft?
Oh, we're already planning it.
I think pretty good.
Just the first night?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably would be what it would be.
If we get Friday off, yeah.
All right. Michigan State hoops. Let's transition into that. Connor, you were at the game.
I was, yes.
Were you part of the Terrence Shannon chants?
That's what I was going to get into right away. I mean, I was thinking there was a chance that, we're going to be a little bit aggressive with Terrence. But like when the first time he was at the free throw line and I just looked to my right, people are screaming, "No means no." It's pretty wild. I mean, I actually did not join in, even though I mean, it's not a good thing to like just say out loud. It was a really unique situation because
made you uncomfortable.
It's an awful situation, but I feel like at the same time we're kind of like making light of what happened. Either way, then the second chant was "lock him up." I mean, all that really had nothing to do with the game because Terrence Shannon could do whatever he wanted against us, driving the ball or shooting threes. But looking towards the Michigan State perspective of it, AJ Hoggard plays like that every night. There's no reason we can't make a Final Four run. I mean, I said before the game, hey, AJ Hoggard legacy game win by 8. What happened? He was pretty dang good. He was able to make a 3, which was nice. I mean, every game that Malik Hall's been playing, if he has a post-prep presence, it's going to be fun, especially when we don't have a center who knows how to catch a ball or even a balloon. Izzo was... I love that game for Tom because I've been getting really upset with him lately, just sitting every game. And it's just so stale and boring. Our offense can't do anything, but he was really fired up that game. He was up and at him yelling. I love to see that. Looking at the core 4 with Tyson played great. Akins had a few big shots, even though he got teed up. AJ and Malik, I mean, they're a really fun core 4 to watch, even though there's a great chance that our entire starting 5 is going to be gone next year. So if I'm previewing next year's season, I'm saying we're screwed and the tournament streak might end unless a couple people stay. Building off of that, I'm still not all the way back. Every single week, I'm like, okay, I might be back in. That was a win that was necessary. But if we can beat Penn State, beat Michigan on the road, I'm officially back into thinking, okay, second weekend, so it's what's going to happen.
No, Connor, set the bar higher.
Hey, I still have more to speak on. Beat Penn State, beat Michigan, okay, we can be a second weekend team. But then you win 4 in a row.
Sorry, it's hard for me to get past those two teams or the teams that are holding me back.
Just let me speak.
That's the bar.
Those teams are bad.
Getting a nice win streak going, because usually what we fail to do is win an easy road game after a big, powerful home win. So I need to see us beat Penn State, where they've caused some mayhem at times. If Michigan just beat Wisconsin, it's a rivalry game, nothing's guaranteed. But win those 2 games. You beat Iowa and Ohio State at home. They'll put you at 19-9. I'm fully back in Final Four push. Because you're going to lose to Purdue. There's no chance of me that's thinking we're going to beat Purdue on the road.
Connor, you can't tell me you went through that whole thing. And
it's a 34-point loss.
If you guys can't contend with Purdue on the road, I don't know how you're convincing yourself of a Final Four.
Purdue, why not? Purdue's built to win the regular season. It's a Saturday night game. Not many teams can go in the country and win at Mackey on a Saturday night.
I'm not saying you have to win. I'm saying it's got to be like Lions at the Cowboys level of just we're in this thing. Like we could win this.
If we win our next 4 games, I will say, hey, maybe we can get it done. Then I'll talk myself back down saying that's not going to happen. But Purdue is the only game that we should realistically lose the rest of the year. We're going to be favored in every other game, even probably at Bloomington because they're kind of not great. Purdue will probably be favored to lose by 10, but if we can finish the year, what would that be? 21-10, win a game or 2 in the Big Ten tournament, you're probably sitting around the 5 or 6 seed, which is realistically a great spot for us to be in, especially the 6 seed I like a lot more because I don't want to be a 5 or 4 and then play UConn in the Sweet 16 or Kansas or Houston. I don't like that, even though usually the defending champ loses early. So I'm really hoping we can get that 6 seed. But yeah, I'll turn it over to you guys. What are your thoughts, Cody, on this big Michigan State win? How does that look going forward?
I'll be honest. Earlier in the week, after the Minnesota game, I told Grant, I told Alex, I said, you know what? I just can't watch another minute of this team. I just can't do it. I can't do it. I've boycotted them before. And then football ends, and I just can't stay away. It's like, I don't know. It's like ice cream for me. Like sometimes, like even if you're dieting, I can't stay away from ice cream. It's just I am addicted to them. It makes me mad every time I watch a game. But you just knew they were going to win this game. It just felt like it. It's classic Izzo in February. It was nice to see AJ play like the player he thought he could be, but it's just still so frustrating that a 4-year guard, he tweets the note-taking thing at the start of the year about how he wasn't in the preseason Big Ten watch list or whatever it was. And it took until February to get this level of play from AJ Hoggard on both ends of the floor. I mean, Tyson Walker deserves everything from this university, playing through a groin injury in that game. It's been really fun to watch Akins. It's just still so frustrating to watch our bigs. Like there's nobody that's worth anything, and Xavier Booker's just not there yet. But I mean, even Jackson Kohler, I don't even really like watching him. I think Carson Cooper is probably my favorite big. It seems like he plays
on Jackson.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think what will really get me back in. I think they need to beat Penn State and Michigan, but I'd like to see them beat somebody of a little bit higher caliber on the road because they always look like this. They've looked like this at the Breslin all year. I mean, they beat Indiana State earlier in the year, who's now ranked. That's a really good basketball team. They just beat Illinois. They always look so good at home. They beat Butler, who's playing really well in the Big East at home.
Thank you, Cody.
By almost 20 points. But it's just anytime they go on the road, it's a different basketball team. And when you get into neutral sites, who knows where we're going to get drawn. I feel like AJ's a little bit of a front runner to where he'll sag back on Big Ten road games throughout the year, and then he really steps it up and turns it up a notch when it comes to March, and it matters. But sometimes I feel like it's too little, too late. So I'm still not back in. I'm still probably going to watch because I'm a sicko.
No shit, you're going to watch. You can't give up on
it. Yeah, football's over, so now I have to. But I really think what would get me all the way back in is Izzo needs to wear suits again. He needs to bring back the suit. And shout out to Suit Man on Twitter. He just changed his name to Suit Man. He's been Chop Man, Milkman, one of the MSU Twitter guys. Every day he's been waking up and tweeting something about why Izzo needs to bring back the suits. And I don't know. Just for vibes, it would feel better. It feels like he's getting a little too casual in the nice, fun neon green quarter zips. As much as it looked awesome, and I scoured the internet to buy one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think we need to bring back some grit. And I know Alex and Evan talked about this last week on the show, but I'm just not the assistant coaching. It just seems like guys haven't developed at all. So I need to see. Obviously, I don't want to go into next year like too quickly, but it does make me a little bit nervous knowing that this team didn't reach its full potential, and we're going to lose our best player, probably two best players. And I don't know, I'm a little nervous for the future. Yeah. So I agreed with what you said last week on the show, Grant, a lot about kind of how we're feeling with Izzo. So I don't know. It's kind of like house money at this point. Like, I know this team's probably going to disappoint me in every game, but if they go on a run, like I'll try to enjoy every second of it. It is miserable basketball to watch, not having a big that can catch a basketball and having a Tom Izzo offense that kind of needs a big that can catch the basketball and at least get some point touches. But at least Malik Hall's stepped up in that aspect, and it seems like he's our best offensive option right now, at least in most half-court sets. So at least it took 4 months, but seniors have stepped up.
You guys are saying the right things. You're saying the right things, except for Connor. Him saying that wins at Penn State and Michigan means second weekend is on.
That just means I can officially buy back in because we just need to pile up some road wins against teams that are inferior to us. Because there's in March with this team, I'm never going to go into a game thinking, okay, there's no chance. No, I can believe in them. But if we start to beat the teams that we should, because we have a problem with that at times, then I can buy officially back in. I'm not going to, Penn State, they're in the middle of the pack for Big Ten right now. So I think going there, and obviously at Michigan with, Michigan's one of the better first half teams. So if they get a big enough lead, if they beat Wisconsin, Doug's going to be back. We haven't played him yet this year, and we had trouble for at least half the game against Michigan the first time. So I think those are two important wins. You can't lose. There can't lose games.
Connor's like Bill Belichick talking about special teams players when he's playing like a terrible team the upcoming week. Like they're a great first half team.
You can't undermine them because you just can't.
I think that summarizes this team, though, is that so me and Evan might go to the game on Saturday at Chrysler, but I'm like nervous to buy a ticket now and wear my Michigan State gear because we just beat number 10 Illinois at home in an awesome basketball game. And I'm nervous to go play 8-win Michigan at Chrysler because Doug McDaniel is going to be playing. And I legitimately think it's going to look like a different basketball team than we saw 2 weeks ago at the Breslin. I'm nervous for that game. I shouldn't be. If you told me at the start of the year, hey, we're going to play 8-win Michigan at Chrysler, I'd say, oh, my God, it's going to be a 35-point win. Like Grant in high school when you and I went to that game and Michigan State won by 32 points. I'd say it's going to be a lob fest. I legitimately think we could lose that basketball game, and that just epitomizes what basketball we've seen from this team this year.
We could lose both the games. That's the scary part. Is there's no we're going to be favored against Penn State probably. I went through the spreads earlier. I think 5.5 against Penn State will be favored by 3 to 4. I think it's going to be a really tight spread against Michigan. So it's like we should win. We're the better team. Yet I don't know if many Michigan State fans have any confidence, 100% confidence that we're going to win these two games. When if you're a Kansas in the world or like we were ranked 4 to start the year, we're going into those games thinking, yeah, we're going to win by at least 10 because you never know who's going to show up. And that's the scary part about this team this year, but also there could be greatness in store for us in March.
I can already see it. We're going to lose like our first game in the Big Ten tournament, and it's just going to be down in the dumps, worst we could possibly feel. We're going to get like an 8 to 10 seed, and then we're going to go on a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 run. That it just felt like that all year. And I'm going to get mad every time we lose just because it's frustrating to see a game like we did against Illinois. And I I am the prototypical Michigan State fan that the sky is falling with every loss. That's just how I am. That's how I'm wired.
I know you guys. This is the part when I was saying, like, you're saying the right things. And this is the part I'm going to try to extract from you guys, but probably more so Alex and Evan. I don't think Evan will give in, but I do think he thinks it too. I think
You're talking about
Michigan State. No, the Michigan State fan base, and I think rightfully so, that you're smart enough to know to say the right things, like every game's tough, like at Penn State, that we could lose that, at Michigan rivalry we could lose that, and you might, but like deep down, when you lay your head on the pillow at night, you still think this team can make the Final Four, and like part of you, like 20% still expects them to, because they were ranked so high to start the year, and our brains can't just forget that. And you've seen them like steamroll Marquette, the same team, be like a shot away from beating Kansas State, then to go play Florida Atlantic. Like in your head, you see Final Four. It's just people would call you crazy if you said it out loud, but like deep down, you're still thinking that. I know you guys are.
You have to.
I know you guys are.
You have two guards. I mean, I texted Alex and Evan this. When Xavier Booker, I think he played in the Michigan game for like an extended stretch or longer than we thought he was. And he hit a three, and then I think he had a block or something. And I just thought in my head, I was like, oh my God, like Xavier Booker's clicking at the right time now. We're not going to have to watch Monty's and stuff on Carson Cooper. Like, this is perfect for a run. And then you watch us play Minnesota, and it's like, yeah, no, never mind.
That's the thing. I mean, it's just a stupid roller coaster we can't get out of. It's just belief, lose, the sky's falling. Win 2 games, then you play a team like Minnesota that you think you should beat, and then you just look like shit the second half because you have one player who can put the team on his back. So, yes, there's belief and optimism, but just so inconsistent. It's like we're going to probably play UConn in the second round, and we all know how that's probably going to go.
We're only going to go as far as 11 takes us. That's it.
Well, that's it.
You guys
make that push.
You guys really are one Mitch McGarry, Xavier Booker like run from making the championship game. Like if he could just figure it out, and like Tom would ride him, because like that is what turned around Michigan's entire season that year.
Or if Carson Cooper could just unlock a little bit of Matt Costello in him, just a little bit, that big.
I'm going to go look at his game logs and see when he started playing big minutes for Michigan that year. See if you guys have any hope or if the ship's already passed.
Do you know what Mitch McGarry did after his basketball career concluded?
Didn't he go like raise goats on a farm?
He was a bowler. Turned to be a bowler.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah.
A couple fellow bowlers in here.
Yeah, I know. Big timers.
Failed that drug test, and that was the end of it.
But I guess
okay, wait.
At
one sec, Connor. I'm just doing some scientific research. He was playing 20 minutes a game, like even kind of early in the year, and then although there was a couple games where he only played 8 minutes, even in like February, and then on March 14th, which was the conference tournament, he got 23 minutes, and then from then on out, he got 23 the entire way. He got 34, 35 in the first 2 tournament games, 36 against Syracuse. So maybe conference tournament is when the deadline is.
It's just frustrating to know, though, that like Tom just won't. Like he just won't do it. He's already shown, like before with the Syracuse loss. I mean, Ben Carter over Jaren Jackson, who was the 3rd pick in the NBA draft. I'm not saying Booker is Jaren Jackson, but it's just you just know he's not going to.
When he's played, it's not like he's really. I mean, his defense is bad. He's jumping out way too far on the wing. It's just no one trusts him yet. And as much as we want him to be the guy, he's not ready. And no one's ready. So I'm not going to say that it's smart to keep him on the bench, but I just don't trust anyone. I don't trust anyone on that team that's taller than 6'8".
Yeah. It's fair.
All right. Shifting over to football for Michigan.
Actually, one more thing about college basketball.
Yeah.
Who you guys is because I was making my like Final Four, looking at bracketology today, so I should know who your like Final Four natty is right now, because right now I'm leaning UNC. I have a future on them. Carolina over Kansas in the rematch, and then I feel really good about Indiana State in the Elite Eight. I'm not going to lie. I feel great about it.
You should. I have two futures. I put down one on Arizona, which I saw a stat today that something about most teams with a head coach who's only been a head coach for 5 years or less doesn't win the title. So I don't feel great about that one. But also Kansas, it just feels right. Bill Self's a great head coach, but I like North Carolina. I think Grant, you're on Tennessee. Those feel like the four to me.
I just can't pick
those are my final four. Yeah, I have Arizona and Tennessee both losing in the final four.
I said to Alex the other day, I think it may have been on Saturday, said you can book this final four. I already know three of the teams. I don't know the fourth one, though, but Connecticut will be there again. They're just too versatile. They can beat you in so many different ways. Kansas will be there because Dickinson, he will be in a Final Four. Like that will happen before he graduates. And then Tennessee. That's a little top heavy, so there's gonna be one wild card. I don't know where that comes from. I thought it was gonna be Creighton, but they haven't looked great. But they still could. They have a good mix of talent as well. But there'll be a wild card. I don't know where that's gonna come from. But
BYU could be a sneaky wild card.
Maybe BYU.
What about do you consider Iowa State top heavy since they're ranked 10 right now? Like them and South Carolina both?
I mean, they're off the radar in terms of what you would expect, but they are a top 10 team, so it's hard to look at them as off the radar. I want their coach to be Michigan's coach if that search ever happens.
Iowa State's?
Iowa State's, yeah.
Fred Hoiberg might want a new job.
No. Well, if we get Tominaga, I will do that.
Is Tominaga fifth year?
Well, we just let him play till he's 35. That's part of the deal.
Yeah.
All right. Michigan, just nothing crazy, but there are some coaching changes. So Wink, we talked about last week, it was between the guy that drove through the Wendy's drive-thru naked and Joe Cullen. And
what?
I was hoping, Connor, if someone hadn't heard that story, but that's such a good one.
I heard it.
So the two finalists for the defensive coordinator job for Michigan were Joe Cullen and Wink Martindale. Joe Cullen has been a football lifer. He's bounced around a lot. He just won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs. He was a defensive line coach. But when he worked for the the Lions back in early 2000s, he had a drinking problem. And he woke up getting arrested in a Wendy's drive-thru butt naked.
Really?
Yeah.
Wendy's.
Yeah. He got home. He was too drunk from the night, was I need food. So he drove there, blacked out in the drive-thru, kind of woke up to sirens, tried to put on his clothes, but couldn't get his shorts on. He could only get his shirt on. So he's naked from the waist down.
Can't make fun of him. We've all done it. We've all been there.
Right. Who hasn't? Whomst among us hasn't been naked in a Wendy's drive-thru?
Wait, so he was at his house, though. It's not like he was driving from somewhere else. He was at home.
I think he got home first. And he was oh, I think. Yeah, I don't know. Did he get in the car naked?
Yeah. You got excited for that biggie bag?
He got his Frosty.
Yeah, I don't know. But they went with Wink, long story short, so we avoided those jokes, which I'm thankful for, because I know Evan would bring that up every single time it got mentioned, hey, defensive coordinator. Wink. What are my thoughts on him? I think it's a pretty good hire for February. I think I had said in a group chat, Colby had asked thoughts, and I just said, I'm just going to have Don Brown PTSD, even though they're different coaches. So it's not fair to do that to Wink Martindale. So I think he's experienced, and I like that it's Ravens connections. And I think he'll be he's going to be smart. He's a smart guy. He's been around a lot. He's not going to recruit, which is fine. Our previous defensive coordinators did not recruit well at all. But the bigger problem was that we lost Steve Clinkscale, the DB's coach, 2 days later. And the drama with that was before we hired Wink, Clink, stay with us, everyone, Wink and Clink. Clink told the team that he was going to stay. He told them in a meeting, hey, I'm staying. A couple of days go by. Hey, guys, I changed my mind. Now that Wink Martindale's here, I'm going to go follow Jim to the NFL. So that hurts because Clinkscale is actually a pretty good recruiter. He played a big role in Will Johnson's recruitment. And he was top 5 recruiter in the Big Ten for 2023. He had a lot of 4 or 5 stars that will be not 5 stars. I'm sorry. A lot of 4 stars that will be on the team this coming year. So maybe they'll flip their commitments. Who knows what will happen or the transfer, but he was a good recruiter. So that kind of hurts. But that's really the dealings with Michigan. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I can put my Wolverine hat on real quick. It just feels like a hire that I think they'll play competitive football this year, but I think you might see kind of a mass exodus after the season of guys that are in the program just because it's too late for them to leave now. I don't know. That's kind of the way I look at it. But I guess I just get nervous about Sharon Moore. I mean, he was obviously the right hire, and I think it's a good hire for Michigan. I just get nervous about there are so many stories that came out of New York and why Wink ultimately was let go out of New York about how he butt heads with Brian Dable. And I think that could be a Brian Dable thing. It just makes me nervous having a guy like a 60-year-old DC come in who has NFL experience with a first-year head coach, how they kind of mesh together as a coaching staff. But I don't. You're right. It is February, so it's like how many options did Sharon really have there? I don't know. On the Spartan side of the table, like it's a hire that makes me happy. I feel like so. Just because I mean I know the roster towards the end of his Giants tenure wasn't really spectacular, but if you look at the defensive ratings, they're in the bottom 5 in a lot of categories. So makes you wonder how good of a defense they'll really field moving forward.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there, Cody. I mean, he has a lot of experience, especially in the NFL, even with Baltimore under John before being in New York. But it's so strange to me how Winky is getting hired in Michigan. That's just a dude I expect to be in the NFL year after year. And when you're hiring someone who has he been around college at all? Because I don't know if he has what it takes to deal with the college landscape and the new coach, like you said. I just think it's I was kind of interested maybe Green Bay would go after him, but seeing him in college and especially at Michigan, it
seems like a lot
weird.
of
it's really weird.
It seems like a lot of college programs and even NFL programs have gone younger, and Michigan had a ton of success with younger DCs. And I know it was kind of unlucky that Mike McDonald got hired for the Seahawks job, so then Orr got promoted, and I know that was probably Michigan's top target and a guy that they could have gotten, but it's just such a meh hire, and it seems like Sharon's been dealt a really poor hand because it seems like every day you see a new coach saying that he's staying and then he's just out of the program and he can't hire one position before another position's opening. So he's had to kind of patch together a staff. So I guess I'm curious to see if the coaching staff he's fielding now even lasts past the next year or two, because it could just be whoever's available, and he's got still a pretty solid roster outside of a quarterback. So I don't know. I think they're still going to be really good in the trenches. I guess I'm just curious at the quarterback position and on the back end of the defense, what it'll look like.
Yeah. I do think though, given the circumstances, I expect Wink he's like a hired gun, kind of like how McDonald was. Really our past 2 defensive coordinators with all our success, they were hired guns. One was there for 1 year in McDonald and Minter was there for 2 and dipped. Yeah. And I think the thing that he has going for him though, is that with his experience, I think he'll have less hiccups in year 1. And if he's only here a year, that could be what we need because the talent is there. He's going to have a talented defense, assuming, spring transfer portal, whatever happens there, and maybe it changes. But you start your defense with Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, and you kind of build out from there. He has the flexibility to do a lot of cool things. And I think with his experience, that helps if he's just there for 1 year. I don't see this being if he coaches defensive coordinator at Michigan for 3 years, I'd be stunned if he goes a full 3 seasons. So
it's just alarming to see so many guys trying to get out of college. And this is a guy that was an NFL defensive coordinator and he's dropping down to a college defensive coordinator. It's pretty clear he had no other options, but Michigan defensive coordinator is still a really good job for college football. So
looking at their schedule next year, it's tough to do any type of schedule, not knowing quarterback situation, who's even going to be there. But I'm looking at the schedule. This is coming from a Michigan State fan. Texas, I don't see you guys winning that game, especially early on. Ohio State, yeah, you do.
I could see us beating Texas.
I think you said it last week. Yeah,
I could.
My 2, I think their Michigan ceiling right now. Obviously, just maybe they are still really good. So I would say Texas and Ohio State to me. I'd be kind of shocked if they won either. Ohio State, especially because they're just returning so much talent, and they're probably going to be ranked top 2. Then looking at the more questionable games, Oregon could be a tough game. It's at home, though, I believe. And I think USC's at home, and those are both kind of questionable to me. The rest of them, I think your
schedule's wild.
I think your floor, especially with Washington, too. I don't know how the whole Washington landscape's going to look.
We'll kill Washington, respectfully.
So I would say, in my eyes, your floor is probably 8-4. That's a high floor for you. Maybe it'd piss you off. Ceiling for me, I would see 11-1, 10-2. I don't see you guys being able to run the table again, just with so many question marks, schedule being tough. So I don't know, does 10 wins will probably still get you into that 12-team playoff, I would think, being a 10-2 defending champ. But I would say if you guys drop down to 9-3, it's going to be tough to get into a postseason that way.
Yeah. If Sharon figures out a way to win the Big Ten this year, he should get a lifetime deal because it would be,
that'd be
insane.
Honestly, if he beats Ohio State again, it'd make you wonder.
I mean, we could be looking at a world where Michigan's like, what would they have to be? 7-4, like going into that game. We're just playing spoiler, and if he shocks them, like, yep, lifetime deal, 8-4. Just beat Ohio State, ruin their all-in year.
Is there like any chance that Ryan Day keeps his job if they don't beat Michigan this year?
I don't think so.
There's just no way, especially given everything, all the NIL money that he got. I mean, unless he loses to Michigan. Yeah, unless he loses to Michigan and then made like a run in the playoff, because it'd still obviously be in the playoff. But all the NIL money he got to bring in guys, and then he brings in Chip Kelly too. If you lose to Michigan at home, that's a disaster.
They just got a new athletic director too, so he's not going to be as tied to. Yeah, they're phasing out Gene Smith, and they hired a guy that was at A&M, I think.
Yeah,
so he's not going to be as loyal to Ryan Day too. So he just pulled the plug, I would imagine. Which is still kind of a crazy move. Like Ryan Day should get hired immediately after that.
Oh yeah,
because he's one of the best coaches. I mean, again, I keep going back to like they make a field goal, they easily beat TCU. He's a national champion, and everyone views him differently. But it just didn't happen that way.
But it's A&M's AD, and it's the same guy that just got pressured by boosters into firing Jimbo Fisher and hiring a new head coach. And it's going to be the same situation at Ohio State if he loses to Michigan again. Boosters are obviously going to put that pressure on the AD. So
people need to think. I probably will place a nice future on Ohio State to hedge against my emotions, but people need to remember that Will Howard kind of was losing his job at Kansas State to their backup, who's electric. So it's not like
guaranteed to be the starter. Do you think?
I think so, based on all the hype that he got.
I guess him or the Bama kid that transferred.
Oh yeah, that kid's young though. That'd be crazy. They also said that he might dip again because Bill O'Brien recruited him to Ohio State and then just dipped. Because Bill O'Brien recruited him to Alabama and then he recruited him to Ohio State and then he left again.
Maybe he'll go to Boston College.
Yeah.
Michigan State better win that game against Boston College. That's all I'm saying, against Bill O'Brien. I mean, what's that roster even going to look like? Maybe people
at Boston College? I don't know, Connor. I'm not in the weeds that much. Last two quick topics. We'll go Pistons first. They did a lot. I wish Evan was on the show. I have to talk to him more about Killian Hayes actually being gone. But the only players I wrote down.
Funniest moment ever when he texted in the group chat too that
he just had,
because he was working. He goes, Killian Hayes is still on the team, and he didn't see the wait for notification.
He had no clue that he didn't that he got let go. I was like, no, Evan, he's let go. The big pieces that I only wrote down were Fontecchio, Quentin Grimes, and Troy Brown Jr. were like the only three names that I think were worth anything or could be here for a while. And
whoa, Evan Fournier, dude.
Yeah, I don't see it. But
I really like the moves, honestly. It's the best. It was the best thing Troy Weaver could have done for his job because now there's no excuse for Monty not to play Asar Thompson and Jaden Ivey a ton of minutes because there's nobody else on the team. So Troy Weaver has that card in his back pocket going into next year that they're going to have likely a top 3 pick, if not a top 5 pick. So he gets one more draft. And, I mean, if Ivy keeps rattling off the games he has, he can just say, look, like, ownership wanted Monty Williams. He got Monty Williams. Look at how he treated Jaden Ivey at the start of the year, and that's why we lost a lot of basketball games. And if Ivey has a promising finish to the year and Duran's been playing well, there's a big three core there. It's just a matter on if they'll get minutes. It kind of stunk that Isaiah Stewart was injured. I would have liked to see him get dealt because I'm not sure why we extended him in the offseason. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a good piece for the future. So I'd like to see him gone maybe at the end of the year.
The Pistons are just in eternal hell with Troy Weaver. I mean, if you just look at from 2020 on, Killian, I don't know if many people were happy about the draft when that happened. Sadiq, I think everyone was behind. Beef Stew, yeah, Saban Lee. But then you're signing Jeremy Grant. That was good. Plumlee, Jalil Okafor and Josh Jackson, and then he's taking swings on Bagley and Dennis Smith and Olynyk and Trey Lyles. It's just people who have not been successful. Even Kevin Knox twice. Livers, who's pretty ass too. We traded Sadiq Bey for James Wiseman. I mean, you trade your best shooter for a bum.
Kelly Olynyk.
Yeah, Olynyk and
he
Lyles
had some
together.
moments. Olynyk had some moments.
And then you fail to be able to get a single first rounder for someone you were offered 2 firsts last year in Bogey. That just is so annoying. And you have 6 players on your roster in 4 years who are NBA players. And Cade, Ivy, Duran, Sasser I like a lot. I thought that was a good pick. And then Beef Stew and Asar. So you have 6 players you can build around, and next year the draft isn't really pretty like it was the last few years. I don't know like anyone in the top 5. They're all foreign or G League players. So you got one more. You have 1 more year to save your job. If you don't make the playoffs, I don't know how a GM can stay if not even sniffing 30 wins in 4 years a single season. I mean, it's just the same old thing happens year after year. It's just not fun. I'm done watching the team by the 3rd game of the season. 4 years in a row. So, yeah, I hate the Pistons.
It sucks, too, because it's not even a good game day experience. It's like the energy is so dead in there. Half of the floor is taken up by a sports book and like an on-floor bar. So there's even less seats than there normally would. I don't know anybody that's trying to get like floor. Like it was like the one end of the court is those like booths that they had at the Super Bowl where it's like kind of like a sports book type suite. And I don't know anybody that's going to watch a Pistons game like that. I texted you guys. I thought it was really funny, but like the trampoline guys that they have came out and missed almost every big dunk they had to the point where like people were kind of booing them. And then like the Wizards went on a massive run. And what do they play up on the Jumbotron? They play a video of Tom Gores giving back to the community. And they presented like a Flint charity with a $5,000 check, which I'm sure is a lot of money to them, but it's just like Tom Gores is, I mean, a billionaire, like $5,000.
Connor made that on DraftKings last night.
Yeah, like that's your scapegoat that you're using of like, look at all I do for the community. And he's held press conferences about that. And it's top down. I think Little Caesars is a really good experience for hockey. I don't agree with it for basketball. I think and obviously the Pistons suck, so there's nobody there, but I just think it's so lifeless in there and empty. And it just feels like the players can't even draw off the crowd at all. But I don't know. I think even if we get rid of Troy Weaver, I don't think anything's going to change. Tom Gores got the head coach that he wanted, and look how that's played out. So I don't really trust him to make another GM hire at this point. I don't agree with Troy Weaver and like having his son on staff, especially with how he's ran the organization. So top down, it's a mess, but I will say, like, Simone Fontecchio, as funny as it is, and like as funny of a meme as it is, I think he's like a decent piece for them to have with this young core because he is a big body that can shoot. But I mean, they're trotting out a lineup with Mike Muscala at center, and I know Beef Stew is injured, but I mean, Mike Muscala is not an NBA player. that is just so hard to watch.
It's just every year, too, I have so much optimism with the youth in this organization. It's just how can they not gel together? Because Cade's really good. Ivy has been great the last few weeks. Jalen Duran is really good, too. And then Thompson, there's defensive flashes. And Sasser, I think, could be a key piece moving forward. It's just I don't know. I can't see a world where the Pistons are a top 4 seed in the East ever. Like, it's just hard for me to expect the Pistons to ever be relevant, and that's how a lot of Lions fans were the last 20 years. It's just unthinkable. And I would have, if you would have asked me before last season, who's the closest to being a really talented team, I would have said the Pistons. I mean, with Cade and Duran, I would have said Pistons have the brightest future, and they're the farthest thing from it. And I don't think it's close.
The Killian pick just set that back so far and not turning out. Because I mean, if you take Halliburton there, obviously it's like hindsight's 2020 on the player that Halliburton has turned out to be. But just think of this exact team. Who knows if we get the number 1 overall pick with Halliburton, but to select Cade. But just think of if Halliburton was on this team, like we're probably on the Pacers trajectory and in probably 5-6 seed in the playoffs right now. It's just crazy how one pick has kind of changed everything.
If we have 30 games left this year. If we can win 12 of those, get to 20 wins, I'll feel a little bit better going into next year. I'll talk myself into something.
Play a game.
I don't think I can keep doing it.
The one thing I'll say is these moves make them more watchable because the players they brought in actually try on defense. We still have to watch Quentin Grimes play, but Fontecchio tries because he's young. And I'm going to kind of like keep an eye on the Knicks. I'm just going to box score watch because I already saw their fans were like, oh my God, Bogey and Burks just don't play any defense. And that was like what pissed me off in the beginning of the year. If I watch a basketball team and they just do not try on defense, nothing makes me want to turn the game off faster. Because it's just like, even if we make cool shots, I know we can't stop anybody and we don't care enough to try. So I think this team's going to be more watchable. Maybe some grosser offensive possessions, but it made me a little. And again, Connor's valid about the not getting the haul that he was worth, especially last year. But in terms of if you just told me like the players we added, I'm a little bit excited about it. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'll try to watch a couple. I did watch the fourth quarter of the Clippers game on Stream East because I was like, I just want to see Fontecchio ball out. He had 20 points. I was like, let me see it.
I mean, I'm not watching him in general just because I don't really have Bailey right now, but when it comes to Prime, the Prime Video thing's happening, right? Where Tiger Jones, Pistons are on Prime Video. It's going to start opening day. Hopefully, it better be opening day.
Maybe.
But
yeah, Jeff Bezos probably figures that out.
Pistons are unwatchable, but it's not like I watch them anyway. So just maybe next year will be fun, but probably not.
Well, the biggest piece of crap that they kept Wiseman through the deadline and like waived all the other players. Like just waive Wiseman. I know they have to because he traded him for Sadiq, but he's like a waste of space.
I still can't believe you traded him.
No, it sucks that we kept Wiseman, but we traded Bagley. And like Bagley was the more promising of the two. I'm not saying I want Bagley. I don't think Bagley's a guy, but it's just Wiseman's the one we kept out of two. And obviously we probably couldn't trade Wiseman for peanuts, but I don't know. At least Bagley could have made them somewhat competitive in the short-sighted.
And you paid Bagley didn't you pay him $12 a year for 4 years? It's like you gave him an extension last year. So it's like, why are we giving up on him if we just paid him?
It's bad. To wrap it out, speaking of a team that's hopefully on the rise faster, the Red Wings, I'm going to defer to Connor probably here because I don't know a ton. I got a notification that Patrick Kane's back from an injury, but I'm getting ready for playoff hockey mentally. I hope we can get there. But I did look at our schedule, and it looks like we have a brutal stretch upcoming, so it could be smoke and mirrors here.
It could be, but, I mean, the last 10 games you thought would be a tough schedule, and they battled through it. I mean, they just beat the Canucks, came back from 3-1 in the third period. I mean, this is an exciting Red Wings team with lots of offense. Ever since Husso kind of went down in December, you got a new goalie in Lyon who's fourth in save percentage, so you're playing better defense too.
Okay.
So you have a chance there.
Statistics.
Going forward, I mean, the stretch is kind of tough, but the NHL, anything can happen. And you get to the postseason, the final eight, there's a lot of parity that can happen. If you have your 8 or 7 seed, I'm probably just as confident as being a 4 or 5, depending on who you get matched up against. I mean, right now you have 4 points over the Islanders in the last spot, and you're tied with the Maple Leaf for the 7 and 8 seed. So
we're a point out of third in the Atlantic, and the Lightning have 2 games on us in hand. So
exactly, yeah. So there's such a the window's so small from going the 3rd seed to the 8. I mean, there's a lot of room, and Larkin's been solid. DeBrincat Raymond stepped up this year. I mean, your additions in the offseason and Gostisbehere, strong or been good, especially defensively. So, I mean, this team right now, I don't think their window is exactly open to compete, but you're winning now. You made free agency additions, good young core. I mean, the core, you still have younger players that you just drafted that are going to be brought up soon. So I think officially next year, the window is open to start thinking, hey, we can make a championship and have a good 5 or 6 year period. I think this year we're still a little inconsistent to make a deep run, but I feel really good about making the playoffs. I expect to be in. I'll be shocked if we're not. So you get in, anything can happen.
I hope you can forgive me, but my brain thinks back to last year when I got to this point where I was in. I'm like, all right, we're going to do this. So we just got swept by Ottawa in back-to-back games. I'm sure you remember. It was just brutal. It was like, oh, we're just not there. If we get dusted by the Oilers and Canucks, which we easily can on the road, it's going to be dark. I'm like, well, that was our window for the year. We're done. I know there's a lot more games left after that, but I'm looking at those two 30-plus win teams that might just take our head off in the next 2 games. It's like, oh, well, it was fun.
Hockey's just a log jam.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's so many teams from 50 to 60 points right now, and just like every game matters.
And they can beat anyone. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Didn't they? I think they
beat the Bruins twice.
Bruins, yeah, and they beat the Canucks last night. It's like they can beat. I mean, the Devils are the team that I think would scare me about jumping them, because the Devils, I would think, pop at one point, but Islanders. I think this is a playoff team. They've beaten playoff teams. I mean, 27-18-6 is much better, I think, than they were at last year. I can't specifically say how many points they had at this point in the season last year, but they're much more competitive, I think, this late in the year, and they haven't really had long losing streaks that have made them dip to the 500 mark. So
that's true. I mean, that is a difference.
This is an important month. If you can go 500 in February, there's a good chance you're going to be playing in April.
They play with confidence too. Jake Wallman hitting that shot against the Canucks, that shootout, and then hitting the gritty. I mean, that's just good vibes on a hockey team. So
I think the games versus the Coyotes, that's good. I see a Blackhawks game, that's good. We need those teams.
I mean, me and Evan are ready to. We've said the last 3 years, wins in the playoffs. We're going the first. I don't know if it'll be the first game, but we're going to LCA. So hopefully this is the year we can finally get that done. I think it is. Maybe even win around.
Close out the year with the Canadians twice. That's huge. They're under 500. Just looking ahead. Looking ahead.
Everything's important.
All right. That is show 154. Great work, gentlemen. Cheers. I got one last week of my pair. High noon.
Cheers. Number 1 sports podcast in the state of Michigan. With the number 1 host in the state of Michigan.
Hopefully Evan goes 5-0 this week. Cheers.
Cheers.